Hello, Bill Molyneux here with a Goober book review of the book Pickett's Charge at Gettysburg, A Guide to the Most Famous Attack in American History by James A. Hessler and Wayne E. Mott, and cartography, basically the maps, by Stephen A. Stanley. So, Goober and I are going to go over the book a little bit, and it's available on Amazon, which we'll show later. And the Kindle version is very inexpensive, just like $14. And right now, we're going to show you the Kindle version on the iPad. So, Goober hopes you'll enjoy this book review. I believe this is like our fourth book review. Please leave a comment if you like these book reviews. All right, let's hit the book review.
All right. Well, we have our printed in 2015 maps by Stephen A. Stanley. Of course, I've already mentioned the authors, James Hessler and Wayne Mott. And the publishers down here, S&B, Savis and Beatty, and they have a mailing address. So this is easily available on Amazon. So there's our first page of credits. All right, on this page we have a phone number, an email, if you wish to carry this book or order it, and if you have a store, something to that effect. So title page is the 1883 Cyclorama of the Battle of Gettysburg. Forward with the cover colors is the cover image. Gallon Historical Arts. And we're going to flip the page. All right, well, as to our introduction, on the Kindle version and the book, this is our front cover with General Armistead and Alonzo Cushing's 2 guns. The other 4 have been withdrawn. So let's delve into the book. I have my notes here, and let's see what we have from the on our book review. All right, this is a very important page. This book is dedicated to all those who served at Gettysburg on July 3rd, 1863. It's also dedicated to Gettysburg licensed battlefield guides for keeping these stories alive. And Elwood Woody Christ was one of my best friends. He passed away in 2014, and we did an awful lot together, and he taught me a great deal about the American Civil War and the Bliss Farm. And I'd also like to mention Rob Wingert, who was a licensed battlefield guide who passed away about a year and a half after Woody. Both were dear friends of mine, and I miss them and their friendship. Well, as we talk about this book, one of the things that's very interesting is the Bliss Farm. I've done a video on the Bliss Farm. Elwood Christ wrote the book, The Struggle for the Bliss Farm. And here we have the Bliss Farm with a tank crossing over the farm. And a little humor here. During the Camp Colt time period, the turn of the century, Pickett's Charge Field and the Bliss Farm was used as a tank training grounds. Here a Renault tank is driving over the Bliss Farm barn site. Pretty funny, I would think. So I had to include this because there is so many wonderful photographs and maps and images in this book. So this is just one of the Bliss Farm pictures I wanted to share. All right, well, the burned barn beam from the Bliss Farm. Of course, if you've seen my video on the Bliss Farm, you know it was burnt down on July 3rd. And this is a piece of the barn from Fred G. Pfeiffer of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. He has the museum, not him, his relative, and the Gettysburg Museum of History. All right, I'm going to just mention the Bliss Farm. It's really a neglected section or talked about of the Battle of Gettysburg is the Bliss Farm. Pickett's Charge. So the Bliss Farm here, it's a seesaw battle And this book does a wonderful job explaining the Bliss Farm and also the walking tour where you can go out and you can go to the monuments that are out here. And this book does a tremendous job explaining the Bliss Farm and how to get to these different spots and see these monuments that very few people go to. And in my video, if you don't feel like walking out there, you can watch it on my channel. So that's the Bliss Farm. Elwood Woody Chris took me there about 4 times, and so did Rob Wingert. So I just have to praise these 2 authors for doing so much on the moments before, the hours before the Battle of Gettysburg. They included a lot of detailed information and tour information of how you can visit these spots. Another wonderful thing included in this book, which I got on Kindle, is regimental markers. Now, a lot of people don't realize it, but when you go to Gettysburg and you see those monuments, there was actually issues between the veterans of different regiments of where their monuments should be placed. So, this is explaining how the 72nd Pennsylvania was in one location and some other units said that wasn't their location. And they actually had to go to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court to get some of this resolved between one veterans unit and another. Now let's go on to Alonzo Cushing's battery of the 4th U.S. Artillery. Another wonderful thing about this book is they talk about Alonzo Cushing, how he had the 6-gun battery, 2 guns hold the line, the other 4 are withdrawn. Explains about the men and horses being torn to pieces on all sides. Just very well written and very detailed, but yet it's a very fast read. Very good on explaining those pivotal moments at Pickett's charge. Alright, here we are with a map, and the maps in this book are incredible, and they tell you as a tourist how to get around, or if you're a Civil War buff and you know, or a historian and you know Gettysburg inside and out, this will save you time by getting this on your iPad or iPhone. So here we have Pickett's charge, Armistead crossing the line. Here we have Cushing's guns on the map, and it actually has 2 guns and the 4 withdrawing. Just a phenomenal map. All the maps in this are great, and if you're a miniature or board war gamer, this book is incredible because we're going to show later there's orders of battle in this also. So, as we all know, 1,000 fell where Kemper led, 1,000 died where Garnett bled. In blinding flame and straggling smoke, through the remnants the batteries broke and crossed the works with Armistead. So, the high water mark of the Confederacy, and there's the Armistead Monument. There is actually some discussion and some where that monument should be. And again, as I mentioned before, which this book covers in great detail, how these different monuments were placed and issues between different units. So the brigade, Lewis Armistead, this is the high watermark monument. And if you're old like me, you may remember when you could drive around the high watermark with a car. There actually used to be a loop there. Okay, let's move on. Well, one of the neat things about the book, it's just incredible, is how they go through and talk about Armistead and where his leading his men over the wall with his hat raised aloft and his sword remains among the most iconic, inspiring moments of the entire battle. Can't say more about how this book covers North and South, all that fought in this pivotal action, and the human interest stories, and then the background of these monuments. Alright, another wonderful thing about the book is the order of battles are in here. Now, I really want to point this out, is the 8th Virginia Infantry Regiment. I recently did a video at Ball's Bluff, and the 8th Virginia Infantry Regiment, they were there and heavily involved in that battle at Ball's Bluff, and they're listed on their monument being at Gettysburg, and it's just really interesting to follow different regiments. So this book includes all of that information. So here we have Kemper's Brigade and Garnett's Brigade. And now we're at Armistead's Brigade. I can't forget them. So we have a very nice order of battle. And another thing is Magruder is down here. And Magruder also in Williamsburg. So I don't know if it's the same Magruder, but I could check in the footnotes, which are really nice in this book. So let's do that. Okay, so when I look up Magruder, footnotes: mortally wounded, 2 rifle bullets in the chest and arm. He died as a prisoner of war July 5th, 1863. Wow. So this is a different Magruder than the Magruder that had Fort Magruder named after him in Williamsburg. What's neat is you see this on an iPad. All you have to do is click these little footnotes and they come right up. So killed in action within a few feet of the stone wall, Cemetery Ridge, James F. Crocker. Something I like to say about Kindle. I'm old. I'm over 60, and getting a book on Kindle is incredible because you can hit these little icons and instantly your footnotes come up. So I recommend the Kindle version. All right, here we have our Union infantry units. What's neat about this, same thing with the footnotes as I talked about them earlier. Here's our 71st Pennsylvania. 14th Connecticut right here. Now, this is one of the units in the Delaware and New Jersey. These are the units that went and fought at the Bliss Farm. That changed hands about 9 times, and it finally got burnt down on the 3rd day. Let's see. I'll pause the camera. Let's go look for the artillery. All right, we can't forget Battery A, 4th U.S. Light Artillery, right here at the bottom. We're going to flip our page. 2nd Lieutenant Alonzo H. Cushing, 6 3-inch rifles. And we have to touch the footnotes and bring them up. And down the bottom, Cushing was killed in action July 3rd, 1863 by a gunshot wound through the mouth. And of course, of the 6 guns in action that day, the battery 2 were replaced on the wall used during the attack. 4 were disabled and damaged. Wow, what a book we have here. All right, I'm going to do my final recap, and we'll ask Goober the Traveling Bear what he thinks. All right, we're going to close out our book review of Pickett's Charge at Gettysburg, a guide to the most famous attack in American history by James A. Hessler and Wayne E. Mott. Cartography by Steve A. Stanley. Now, this Pickett's Charge book is wonderful. I can't say how good it is. It's just better than I was expecting, and sadly, I've never purchased it. I'm sorry about that, Mr. Hessler and Mr. Mott and Mr. Stanley. Now, a couple things I like to point out. I have an introductory level type of Pickett's Charge game that I actually have out there, but I did not use this book for the background research. Another designer worked on that game, but Goober gives us 2 paws up, and being old, this is like the 3rd book I've bought on Kindle, and I gotta say, by using a Kindle and your iPad device, it is really neat. You can enlarge your maps, and I really think this is a must-buy purchase. It's only $14 on Amazon. for the Kindle version, take it out on the battlefield. I plan on doing a few more battlefield videos for my YouTube channel, and I'll be using this. So, I'm going to close this out with saying, please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to post this particular video on both channels, Bill's History Bill's History World with Goober the Traveling Bear, and of course Bill's Wargame World. I guess one disclaimer, I sort of know Mr. Mott. His wife was my son's school teacher in 3rd grade, and I casually know him a little bit from when I lived in Gettysburg for 20 years. But I would say we're extremely distant acquaintances, if that. However, that did not sway this book review in any way, shape, or form. Please go and spend $14 and get this book, and I'm ashamed I haven't had this in my library. Thank you. Stay safe, be kind, and be courteous.